Everyone, it's the 11th of July, and I've just had a report come in from a chap named Mark Scott, and he had what he described as a strange experience, what he could only describe as a gnome. But when you listen to the actual description of the gnome, I don't think it means the typical elf-like gnome that we see now. He said, "My name's Mark Scott. I'm 61 years old, and I've spent over 30 years working in the NHS mental health services. I'm a cognitive behavioural psychotherapist. I specialise in CBT for anxiety, depression and trauma. I still do a bit of private work though, but I'm mostly retired now. In 1971, I had a strange experience where I saw what I can only describe as a gnome. I know it was 71 because I recall I'd just watched the Double Deckers on Saturday morning TV. The show ran in the UK from January to April 1971. And we lived in Saladine Nook in Huddersfield, which we left in 73. So I'm fairly sure of those days. I would have been 10 years old. Anyway, after watching the TV programme, I met up with some friends and we decided to go off somewhere, as we did in those days. And we ended up going to Out Lane Golf Course near the M62 motorway, heading out of Scamondon, I don't know that word, Scamondon Dam. And we were up there collecting golf balls. I even recall our route from the Sally Nook down to Longwood and then up through the valley of the golf course. On the edge of the course, we headed towards a green with a sand bunker. And I was at the back of the group, and there was a dry stone wall to my right and slightly behind me. On the other side of the wall was a clump of trees and small wood. I looked around and I saw a small, kind of stocky man, like a humanoid-like figure, but definitely not a human male. He was either sat on top of the wall or he was in the bough of a tree just above the wall, right on the edge of the woods. He was motionless and he just looked back at me, almost as if he couldn't believe that I could see him. He was dressed in green, an earthly brown coloured clothing made of cloth. He had a hat or a head covering, and the encounter lasted only a few moments. I turned away to rejoin the group who were collecting golf balls from the course. No one else saw the creature, and I said nothing about what I'd seen for fear of ridicule. My mum remembers when I got home, and I told her I'd seen a small green man in the wood, and she since told me that I was not one for making up silly stories, and she believed me. I've hardly told anyone about this in 50 years, but I'm convinced I encountered a gnome, or an earth spirit, which was visible to me for some reason on that day. I did not imagine it, and I know I saw something, not of this reality, on that day in 1971. It reminds me of the old brownie or brown boy tales, this small, husky and muscular little man who's dressed in nature's colours of brown and green. Um, I suppose we'd call him the Fae now. I'm not really sure. But I'd love to talk more to this chap and see if I could get a little bit more about this experience. And I will do. I messaged him back. So as soon as I know more, I'll let you all know. Goodbye, everyone.